What was the most sadistic thing you did as a child? When I was little, for whatever reason, I was fixated on how hilarious sneezing was. Remember that part in Beauty and the Beast where Belle's dad sneezes in his dusty workshop? I would rewind that and watch it over and over and laugh and laugh. Fast forward to kindergarten. Somehow I find out that a girl in the first grade has a terrible pollen allergy. I pick a handful of dandelions and chase her, smashing them into her face whenever I get close enough. The plan works. She's sneezing like crazy. This is the pinnacle of humor. But wait, she's sneezing, but she's also crying and wheezing, and her face is swollen and red. This was the first time my little kid brain grasped the idea that other people might feel differently about things than you do. Upvote for gaining empathy. At my school near the playground, I found some random cinder blocks. So I piled tons of fallen leaves on them till they were completely covered, in hopes that some kids would run and jump onto the leaves but hurt themselves on the cinder blocks. There was a deep hole in the schoolyard outside the faculty entrance. I covered it with leaves and a teacher sprained his ankle on it. This happened multiple times. My highest rated comment is about me being a dong to a teacher that was incredibly stupid. Thanks Reddit. I used to put a super high wattage bulb on the lamp in my room. Then I would take my Barbies and melt their hands and faces to make them confess. Toy Story fricked me up. When I was really young I got really mad at my dad for some reason. I was so mad that I wanted to kill him, so I put those silica packets that you get in shoe boxes in his bottle of Coke. I think I only put a couple of packets in there, but he drank some of it. He said it tasted funny, so he threw it out. So yeah, I tried to kill my dad for some childish reason. I pricked a hole in my friend's parents' waterbed with a needle. I was 6. I remember doing it, but I don't remember the outcome. I was 6 and told my 3-year-old brother that the people in the television had actually been sucked in there by getting too close to the screen. It took my parents months to find out why he would slowly edge around the living room and then burst into tears when they turned the TV on. Reminds me of my older sister convincing me the vacuum cleaner would suck up my toes and then chase me around the house with it. I was afraid of the vacuum for years. I ran into a fence with my bike and cracked my nose. I came home all bloody in my face, and when dad saw me, he shouted "WHO did IT?" and for some weird reason, I replied "Greg, the worst bag in school." My dad ordered me to get in the car, and I didn't have the guts to come clean about my lie. He drove to this guy's house, and when his dad opened, my dad threatened that if that kid ever laid hands on me again, he promised to kill them all. Then we went home in silence and never talked about it ever again. I remember being around 8-9 years old, walking through the park with my dad when an older man, around 50-55, sped through the park on a bicycle like a lunatic and dinged me in the arm, knocking me over. My dad threw a brick at him, which hit him, knocking him off his bike. When I was about 6 or 7 and my little brother was about 4 or 5, we were jumping on the trampoline in my aunt's backyard one day. My little brother got his foot caught in the springs lining the edge of the thing somehow and fell over the side. So, he was kind of dangling there, with his foot at an extremely uncomfortable looking angle, screaming. I got off of the trampoline, went over and looked at him, and then just walked away, back to our house, with no intention of getting help. Fortunately, he only hung there for a few minutes before his screaming woke my aunt up from her nap and she rescued him. He had a sprained ankle. I have no idea why I did that. I only have a vague recollection of it. My brother, on the other hand, has a cinematic memory of the incident. He loves to tell the story when he meets my friends. I feel horrible about it and I'll never be able to explain why I did it. But my brother and I are really close now. He's my best friend. I too did horrible things to my brother when we were little. Shampooing the bottom of the tub before he got in for a shower, taping him to chairs and leaving him on bunk beds, swinging down from the top and kicking him awake, etc. We're good friends now, but man, I was a dong. I convinced my younger brother that we found him near a sewer. I went on for multiple years with the same story. Whenever he would do something I didn't care for, I would threaten him with "You're going back where you came from." My parents still joke about how much he would cry. My brother and I are best friends now. I dropped ants and other bugs onto spider webs. Well, at least the spiders were happy. Holy crap, company just dropped in for dinner. This is the kind of crap I came to the thread expecting to see, not shaved off fingertips and skinning 1-year-old's legs with razor blades. When I was 10 years old, my cousin, also 10, and I convinced my 6-year-old brother that he'd been drafted by the army. We even wrote up an official looking letter and printed it out on my dad's dot matrix printer. Then we made him run around the neighborhood to get ready for boot camp. We thought it was the funniest thing ever. My parents disagreed. Alright, so you know that thing kids do with convex lenses and ants? I didn't go for ants. I went for other children, and I made them want it. I created a hype for what I called semi-permanent tattoos, in which I drew a pattern onto their hand and burned it in with the lens. People were lining up for it. Extra points if you charged them money. In kindergarten I scooped up a dead bird in an art project, big sheet of paper, and rode the bus home. Threw it on the bus driver's lap as I exited and sprinted to my front door. At scout camp a friend and I put big rocks on the train tracks in hopes of derailing a train. In elementary school there was an old guy who lived next door to the school that we were all convinced had it out for us. So we'd throw rocks into his lawn and hope he'd run them over with his lawnmower and blow up. My sister used to always eat off of my plate, which I hate even today. One day when I was about 4 I told her to stop doing that or she'd be sorry. She didn't think I'd do anything about it, and admittedly I don't remember having anything in mind, but I was really freaking mad. About a week later she asked me to walk on her back to pop it, so I walked until I got to the middle, around her shoulder blades, and jumped a couple times on her back. She was about 10 at the time and I don't think it actually hurt her, but it scared the crap out of her and I got trouble. Reading this, I thought it would end a lot worse than it did. Not sure if this would be called sadistic, but it was pretty fricked up. I dumped a bottle of shampoo on a little girl's head at Burlington Coat Factory. My mom was at checkout and I found this random little girl in the racks while I was roaming around and just opened the bottle and plopped it on there. Sorry little girl who probably got yelled at by her parents for dumping shampoo on her head. When I was 4, I threw a pretty big rock from my driveway and it landed dead center in the grill of a passing truck. I being a mechanic now and have seen what damage something as small as a bird can do hitting the right area, I probably cost that guy a good $400-500 or more in damages. Still don't know why I thought it was a good idea. I pulled a chair out from under a boy I liked in the 2nd grade. He cried. I once did this to my grandmother when I was maybe 8 or 9, expecting hilarity. Got a broken hip and years of guilt instead. Cartoons are bad indicators for what translates well in the physical world when it comes to humor. I tried to smother my infant sister when I was 3. I don't remember doing so, but apparently I even had the forethought to ask my grandma sweetly for a glass of apple juice before putting a pillow over her baby seat and sitting on it. Baby elephants. Intentionally kick brother right in the face for no reason at all when he was on the floor in front of me. It doesn't seem so sadistic, but it's the one thing that I remember doing for no other reason than that I could do it unintentionally. Take someone's phone I hated. This was pre-smartphone era, mind you, and hid it in a pencil case. Called a penal of another girl on a Friday. Girl ended up taking it home by accident, and suddenly she had stolen a phone from someone else. A bit of drama. My sister told me that if I put my finger in the pincers of an earwig bug it would grant me a wish. Can't believe I fell for that one. Told me to pet a bumblebee. To be fair, I watched her pet the bumblebee first. Also threw a baseball bat at my head. Siblings are fun. Unsuccessfully tried to convince a little girl to trade me the $20 bill she got for Christmas for the $5 bill that I received. I did the same thing to someone when I was in kindergarten, except I used a $1, saying that it was the best bill. That's why it was number 1. I used to throw rocks at people's houses. When I was 7 I didn't think it was a big deal and that it was actually pretty funny, but now as owner of a home, if a kid did that to me, I would whip that ass. Same, I'd crack open a fresh can of whoop ass. I was 12 years old and a huge butthole. There was a rope swing at the swimming hole and everyone would go there all summer long. One time me and my buddies went and a bunch of older kids were there swinging and swimming and told us to get out and they better not see us here again. That peed me off. So that night I went there and put a box of double-sided open-end razors all over in the tree. Now that I'm older I know it was a horrible thing to do. I can't believe I did it. But karma took over and 2 or 3 years later me and my buddies were the big kids on the rope swing and we could kick the little kids off. I was swinging and the rope broke. I climbed up the tree to put a new rope on and sliced my hand on my own rusty ass razor. Cut the nerves on my pinky and ring finger. Ended up with 20 stitches. I'm 40 now and still have no feeling in my pinky. And I feel like I deserve what I got. Jesus Christ. I always heard about creeps who put razor blades in playgrounds. It was you. It was you all along. I gave my twin brother a cup of bleach with a bunch of milk added in. I didn't know the severity of how bad it is for you at the time. I wasn't even in kindergarten yet. Needless to say we went to the hospital and I felt terrible despite the fact that every time he and my cousin were in grandma's pool together with me they'd work together to actively try and drown me for years to come. I gave my twin brother a cup of bleach with a bunch of milk added in. There can only be one. This is Sparta kicked my best friend in the back down a playground slide, causing him to land headfirst into the plastic slide which had been baking in the summer heat all morning. He skid on his face the entire time down, and about halfway down the blood trail started to appear. He had to go to the hospital to get stitches. Apparently you can grind your chin down till the bone shows. Oh god, the image you put in my head. One time when I was 4/5 my dad came home from a hunting trip, and I was sitting in the bed of his truck watching him clean a dozen or so ducks. He went inside to grab something and when he came back out I was covered in blood. He panicked and thought I'd cut myself somehow and asked me how I got covered in blood. I proceeded to pick up one of the decapitated duck's heads, grab both sides of the bill and quack like a duck while opening and closing the jaw. A kid punched me in the face. I found his little sister and hit her. I have no idea why I thought that would work. I didn't learn either. He confronted me and pushed me. I stole his sister's doll and set it on fire. Another incident I had was with this kid in my 2nd grade class. He was a dong. He called me names for not being good with English and being from a different country. One day at recess he stole my soccer ball. So after school I stole his bike and tossed it in a creek. He bullied me for a few more years till my sister beat him up. That killed his ego. Frick you Mike. It's been 20 years but you want your fricking bike back. It's in the Susquehanna River. Lol his poor sister. I remember my friend used to collect daddy long legs in his lunchbox then release them in class. Not that bad. Pretty hilarious actually. But it must have been fricking hot for those daddy long legs. You have been visited by the extremely rare green beanie Sarah meme. Like this video in the next 7 seconds and you will be blessed with non-itchy beanie head this winter. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Or don't. Either way, have a great day you magnificent people.